Hi friends, I'm excited to talk to you today about creating bar graphs. Specifically today we're going to create a vertical bar graph, which is going to be very similar to the one you're going to do in your math book today. So you can watch this video and then complete the work in your book, or you can follow along with me and pause after each step to do that step in your book. That's going to be up to you. We're going to go ahead and get started. So today, we are going to be given a group of information and we're going to need to organize our data ourselves. Sometimes we'll get a chart that's filled out already, but in this case, we're going to need to organize our data. So I'm looking at all of these different shapes and colors, and the first thing I have to try to do is figure out, okay, what is my graph going to even be about here? I see that my table gives me 3 spaces to fill in. So I'm pretty sure that what I'm going to be counting today are the shapes and not necessarily the colors, but you could make a bar graph about the colors too. In your book, it tells you that you're going to be making a graph about shapes, so I'm going to make a graph about shapes as well. So I'm going to go ahead and label the categories. All the categories are going to be different types of shapes. The shapes that I have here are circles, triangles, and hearts. Now I need to go ahead and organize my data and figure out how many of each shape I have. To do this and to keep myself organized, I'm going to show my counting on top of each shape. This will help me make sure that I have counted all of the shapes, and if I lose track in the middle, I can find my place. So here we go. Let's start by counting the circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 circles. I fill it into my graph. Now I'm going to count my triangles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 triangles. I fill them into my graph. Now I count my hearts. 1, 2, 3, and I'll fill that in too. When I look back at all of the shapes, I can see that every shape has been counted because I have put a number on every single shape. So that was helpful to help keep me organized. Now, my next step is going to be to set up my graph. The first thing you need to do is give your graph a title, because on the last slide, what we looked at and what we counted were shapes. This graph shows all about shapes, so my title is just simply going to be shapes. Then I need to mark up a space for each category. So that would be the types of shapes that I'm graphing. I counted circles, I counted triangles, and I counted hearts. Those are the different shapes that I have, so those are the categories that go at the bottom of the graph. And finally, I need to set up my scale. Keep in mind that your scale must start at 0, just like on a ruler, with that bottom line as 0. We wouldn't want to put 0 here, where you see my cursor pointing, because then this whole bar here wouldn't count as anything. That would be 0, and that wouldn't make any sense. So we want when it's colored up to the first line that it equals 1. When it's colored up to the second line, it equals 2, and so on. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in my scale, and it's going to look just like this, all the way up to 10. Now I'm ready for step 3, which is to take that data that I collected and graph it. I know that I have 5 circles that I counted, so I want to create a bar that goes all the way up to the line that says 5, or color in 5 of these spaces with my bar. It'll look like this when I'm finished coloring. I can go ahead and check that I have 5 spaces by checking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or looking at the number it goes up to, 5. If I had only colored in this square here between 4 and 5, that would not show me a bar graph, because a bar graph shows all the data and it shows a full bar from 0 to the number we're representing. So you need to have the entire bar all the way from the bottom or the side if it's a horizontal bar graph. I have 7 triangles, so again, my bar will go over 7 spaces and stop at the line that counts 7. Just like that. And finally, I will color in a bar for my hearts, which were 3, so that will go across 3 spaces, and the bar will look like that. This is exactly what you're doing in your book today. Make sure that you take your time and keep your work nice and neat so you don't lose track of any of those shapes when you organize your data. Make sure that as you label your bar graph, you pay close attention to the scale and start on the bottom line with 0. And finally, as you color in your bars, make them neat and make sure that you create a bar that goes all the way from 0 to the number you are trying to represent. I can't wait to see all of your work.